tell you a story. The first story my father told me, and the first story that I told each of you. In the beginning, there was nothing. Nothing but the silence of an infinite darkness. But the breath of the Creator fluttered against the face of the void, whispering, "Let there be light." And light was. And it was good. The first day. And then the formless light began to take on substance and shape. The second day. And our world was born. Our beautiful, fragile home. And a great warming light nurtured its days. And a lesser light ruled the nights. And there was evening and morning. Another day. And the waters of the world gathered together. And in their midst emerged dry land. Another day passed. And the ground put forth the growing things, a thick blanket of green stretching across all creation. And the waters, too, teemed with life. Great creatures of the deep that are no more. Vast multitudes of fish, some of which may still swim beneath these seas. And soon, the sky was streaming with birds. And there was evening, and there was morning, a fifth day. Now the whole world was full of living beings. Everything that creeps, everything that crawls, and every beast that walks upon the ground. And it was good. It was all good. There was light and air and water and soil, all clean and unspoiled. Your plants and fish and fowl and beast, each after their own kind, all part of the greater whole, all in their place, and all was in balance. It was paradise, the jewel in the Creator's palm. And the Creator made man, and by his side woman, father and mother of us all. He gave them a choice. Follow the temptation of darkness, or hold on to the blessing of light. But they ate from the forbidden fruit. Their innocence was extinguished. And so for the 10 generations since Adam, sin has walked within us. Brother against brother. Nation against nation. Man against creation. We murdered each other. We broke the world. We did this. Man did this. Everything that was beautiful, everything that was good, we shattered. Now, it begins again.
Again also, because God is merciful and of great pity, and governs all things in a way that he alone knows, he made our father Adam live in the western border of the garden, because on that side the earth is very broad. And God commanded him to live there in a cave, in a rock, the cave of treasures, below the garden. And because when they were in the garden, they were filled with the grace of bright nature, and they had not hearts turned towards earthly things. And because when they were in the garden, they were filled with the grace of bright nature.
And because when they were in the garden, they were filled with the grace of bright nature.
And they had not hearts turned towards earthly things. Therefore God had pity on them, and when he saw them fallen before the gate of the garden, he sent his word to our father, Adam and Eve, and raised them from their fallen state. Chapter 3, concerning the promise of the great 5.5 days. God said to Adam, I have ordained on this earth days and years, and you and your descendants shall live and walk in them until the days and years are fulfilled, when I shall send the word that created you and against which you have transgressed, the word that made you come out of the garden and that raised you when you were fallen. Yes, the the word that will again save you when the 5.5 days are fulfilled. But when Adam heard these words from God and of the great 5.5 days, he did not understand the meaning of them. For Adam was thinking there would be only 5.5 days for him until the end of the world. And Adam cried and prayed to God to explain it to him. Then God, in his mercy for Adam, who was made after his own image and likeness, explained to him that these were 5,500 years, and how one would then come and save him and his descendants. But before that, God had made this covenant with our father Adam in the same terms before he came out of the garden, when he was by the tree where Eve took of the fruit and gave it to him to eat. Because when our father Adam came out of the garden, he passed by that tree and saw how God had changed the appearance of it into another form, and how it shriveled. And as Adam went to it, he feared, trembled, and fell down. But God in his mercy lifted him up, and then made this covenant with him. And again, when Adam was by the gate of the garden, and saw the cherub with a sword of flashing fire in his hand, and the cherub grew angry and frowned at him, both Adam and Eve became afraid of him, and thought he meant to put them to death. So they fell on their faces, trembled with fear. But he had pity on them, and showed them mercy, and turning from them went up to heaven, and prayed to the Lord, and said, Lord, you sent me to watch at the gate of the garden with a sword of fire. But when your servants Adam and Eve saw me, they fell on their faces, and were as dead. O my Lord, what shall we do to your servants? Then God had pity on them, and showed them mercy, and sent his angel to keep the garden. And the word of the Lord came to Adam and Eve, and raised them up. And the Lord said to Adam, I told you that at the end of the 5.5 days I will send my word and save you. Strengthen your heart, therefore, and stay in the cave of treasures, of which I have before spoken to you. And when Adam heard this word from God, he was comforted with that which God had told him, for he had told him how he would save him. Chapter 4. Adam mourns over the changed conditions. Adam and Eve enter the cave of treasures. But Adam and Eve cried for having come out of the garden, their first home. And indeed, when Adam looked at his flesh that was altered, he cried bitterly, he and Eve, over what they had done. And they walked and went gently down into the cave of treasures. And as they came to it, Adam cried over himself and said to Eve, Look at this cave that is to be our prison in this world, and a place of punishment. When it is compared with the garden, what is its narrowness compared with the space of the other? What is this rock by the side of those groves? What is the gloom of this cavern compared with the light of the garden? What is this overhanging ledge of rock to shelter us compared with the mercy of the Lord that overshadowed us? What is the soil of this cave compared with the garden land, this earth strewed with stones, and that planted with delicious fruit trees? And Adam said to Eve, Look at your eyes, and at mine, which before beheld angels praising in heaven, and they too without ceasing. But now we do not see as we did. Our eyes have become of flesh, they cannot see like they used to see before. And Adam said again to Eve, What is our body today compared to what it was in former days when we lived in the garden?
Father and mother of us all. He gave them a choice. Follow the temptation of darkness, or hold on to the blessing of light. But they ate from the forbidden fruit. Their innocence was extinguished.
And because when they were in the garden, they were filled with the grace of bright nature. And because when they were in the garden, they were filled with the grace of bright nature,